Do you ever feel like you're trying your best in your relationships, but people just seem to pull away? It's a confusing and, let's be honest, a pretty painful feeling. You're putting in the effort, you're showing up for your friends, your family, or the person you're dating, but there's this growing distance you just can't seem to close. One day you're close, in the next, it feels like you're talking to a stranger. You rack your brain trying to figure out what you did wrong. Was it something you said? Something you did? The self-doubt starts creeping in, and you wonder if there's something fundamentally wrong with you. But what if it's not about some big dramatic screw-up? What if the reason people are pulling away is hidden in the tiny, seemingly innocent phrases you use every single day? We all use them, often with the best intentions, but they can slowly and silently sabotage our connections without us even realizing it. They're like tiny paper cuts, individually small and easy to dismiss, but over time they create deep wounds that lead to disconnection, resentment, and ultimately distance. In this video, we're going to expose 5 of these specific communication mistakes. We're not just going to point them out, we're going to understand the psychology behind why they push people away so effectively. And more importantly, for each mistake, I'm going to give you the exact actionable alternative, what to say and do instead to stop pushing people away and start drawing them closer, building the strong, healthy, and resilient relationships you deserve. Let's get straight to it. These communication habits are subtle, but their impact is massive. We've all been on both the giving and receiving end of them, and understanding them is the first step to transforming how you connect with others. We'll be drawing on principles from relationship experts like the Gottman Institute, who have spent decades researching what makes relationships thrive or completely fall apart. This isn't just about being nicer, it's about being more effective and creating genuine emotional safety. The first mistake is one of the most common and one of the most destructive, starting sentences with an accusatory you. These are the phrases that sound like, "You always forget to take out the trash," "You never listen to me when I'm talking," "You're the reason we're always late," or between friends, "You're always flaking on our plans." So why is this so damaging? The moment you lead with an accusatory you, the other person's brain doesn't really hear the rest of the sentence. It hears one thing: attack. Psychologically, it's a perceived threat, and the natural human response to a threat is to get defensive. Their walls go up instantly. They stop listening to understand you and start listening for a chance to defend themselves or to fire back. You wanted to talk about the trash, but now you're in a fight about who's the more forgetful person in the relationship. You wanted to express your hurt about being ignored, but now you're arguing about something that happened 3 weeks ago. The conversation is no longer about the issue, it's about blame. Imagine this: your partner or friend comes home and you say, "You never make time for me anymore." They've just walked in the door, maybe after a long, stressful day, and the first thing they experience is an accusation. They feel attacked, unappreciated, and misunderstood. Their immediate reaction won't be empathy, it will be defensiveness. They might say, "That's not true, I made time for you on Tuesday." Or worse, they might just shut down, thinking, "Nothing I do is ever good enough." Over time, this pattern doesn't just cause arguments, it erodes trust. The other person starts to feel like they're walking on eggshells, just waiting for the next accusation. That emotional distance you're feeling, this is where it's born. They pull away because being close to you starts to feel like being in a courtroom, constantly on trial. So how do we fix it? The solution is a simple but profound shift. Switch from you statements to I statements. An I statement focuses on your feelings and your experience, not the other person's screw-ups. It takes the accusation out and invites collaboration instead of conflict. The formula is simple. I feel, your emotion, when the specific behavior happens because the impact it has on you. So instead of "you never make time for me," try this: "I feel lonely and a little disconnected when we go a few days without really connecting. I miss you, and I'd love if we could plan a date night this week." Can you feel the difference? The first is an attack. The second is a vulnerable expression of a need. Instead of "you're always flaking on our plans," a friend could say, "I feel really bummed and a bit let down when our plans change at the last minute because I was really looking forward to seeing you. Could we try to lock something in for next week?" This doesn't guarantee you'll always get what you want, but it opens the door for a real conversation instead of a fight. The second mistake is the conversation hijack, interrupting someone while they're speaking. We live in an impatient world, and this habit is incredibly common, but it's a silent relationship killer. When you interrupt someone, you're sending a powerful, unspoken message. What I have to say is more important than what you're saying. It signals a fundamental lack of respect for their thoughts and feelings. Think about a time you were really trying to be passionate or vulnerable about something, and someone cut you off mid-sentence. How did that feel? It's invalidating. It makes you feel dismissed, unimportant, and unheard. When this happens over and over, people just stop trying to talk to you about anything meaningful. Why would they share their deepest fears, their biggest dreams, or even just a story about their day if they know they're just going to get cut off? They won't. They'll give you the surface-level stuff, because the real version takes an energy and vulnerability they no longer feel safe sharing with you. Let's say a couple is talking about finances. One partner starts to explain their anxiety about a recent bill, saying, "I'm just really worried because with my car repair last week, I'm not sure how we'll," and the other jumps in with, "I already told you, I'll cover it. You don't need to worry, I have a plan." The interrupter thinks they're solving the problem. They think they're being helpful, but what they've actually done is completely dismiss their partner's feelings. The conversation wasn't just about the money, it was about the anxiety. By interrupting, they shut down the emotional part of the conversation. The first partner is left feeling unheard and alone with their feelings, and they pull back. Or in a friendship, one friend is venting about work and the other interrupts with, "Oh my God, I know exactly what you mean. The same thing happened to me," and then launches into their own 20-minute story. They think they're connecting by relating, but they've actually hijacked the conversation and made it about them. The original speaker is left hanging, their feelings unresolved. They learn that when they have a problem, you're not really there to listen, you're just waiting for your turn to talk. This pushes them away, and they'll find someone else to confide in next time. The solution here is active listening. This is more than just staying quiet. It's about listening to understand, not just to reply. When someone is talking, your only job is to listen. Let them finish their entire thought, even if there's a pause. That silence you're so desperate to fill is often where the most important thoughts are being formed. Don't spend that time crafting your own story. Instead, listen to their words, their tone, and the emotion behind them. When they're truly finished, you can reflect back what you heard. Say things like, "It sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed right now." Or, "So you're saying you're stressed about work. Tell me more about what's happening." This simple act makes the other person feel seen, heard, and respected. It builds a bridge, not a wall. If this is helping you understand psychology and real human behavior, consider subscribing to our channel, Social Psychology, for simple, practical insights on how people think, feel, and act in everyday life. The third mistake is arguably the most toxic: hitting below the belt. This is when an argument gets heated and instead of sticking to the topic, you throw a personal insult or bring up a past mistake that has nothing to do with the current issue. It's a cruel jab designed to hurt, and it uses your intimate knowledge of the other person's vulnerabilities as a weapon. This is when a discussion about who should do the dishes turns into, "Well, if you weren't so lazy, maybe you'd have a better job and we could afford a dishwasher." Or when a simple misunderstanding between friends becomes, "This is why no one wants to date you, you're too sensitive." These are low blows. They're attacks on someone's character, not attempts to solve a conflict. The goal shifts from solving a problem together to winning the fight by inflicting the most emotional damage. The impact of hitting below the belt is devastating and long-lasting. It doesn't just hurt in the moment, it shatters trust. When you use someone's deepest insecurities against them, you're telling them that their vulnerabilities are not safe with you. You're showing them that anything they share with you in an open moment can and will be used as ammo against them later. Once that line is crossed, it's incredibly hard to come back. The other person may forgive you, but they won't forget. A part of them will always be guarded, holding back from being fully vulnerable with you again. This creates a permanent, underlying distance. They can't be fully themselves with you because they're afraid of what you might say the next time you get angry. The solution is simple in theory, but requires a ton of self-control in the moment. Stick to the issue. No matter how heated things get, the topic is the topic. The dirty dishes are about the dirty dishes. The budget is about the budget. It is never about your partner's character or their past mistakes. If you feel yourself getting so angry that you're about to say something you'll regret, you need to call a timeout. According to the Gottman Institute, this is called flooding, where you're so overwhelmed that you can't think straight. You can say, "I'm getting too angry to talk about this productively. I need to take a 20-minute break, and then we can come back to this." During that break, do something calming and remind yourself of your goal, to solve the problem with your partner, not to win a fight against them. Healthy relationships are built on the idea that even when you disagree, you're still on the same team. The fourth mistake is the silent trap of making assumptions and expecting your partner or friend to be a mind reader. It's the belief that if they really loved me, they would just know what I need, or it should be obvious why I'm upset. You don't communicate your needs or feelings directly, and then you get resentful when those unspoken needs aren't met. This pattern is a fast track to frustration. No one, no matter how much they love you, can read your mind. People are busy living in their own heads with their own worries and perspectives. Assuming they should automatically understand your internal world without you explaining it is setting them up to fail and setting yourself up for resentment. This creates a cycle where you feel constantly let down and the other person feels constantly confused, like they're failing a test they didn't even know they were taking. Think about it. It's your anniversary, and you have a picture in your head of a romantic gesture, maybe flowers or a heartfelt card, but you don't say anything. You think, they should know it's important to me. The day goes by, and your partner, who shows love in other ways, maybe by making you dinner or planning a weekend trip, doesn't do that specific thing you wanted. You become quiet and withdrawn. They ask what's wrong, and you say, nothing, but your disappointment is obvious. They feel you pulling away but have no idea what they did wrong. You feel hurt and unloved, and they feel confused and pushed away by a wall of silent frustration. Or, in a friendship, your friend is texting someone else while you're out together, and it makes you feel ignored. But instead of saying something, you just get quiet and cold. You assume this should know it's rude. From their perspective, they were just answering a quick message. They sense your mood shift, but have no clue what caused it. They pull away because you suddenly seem unpredictable and moody. In both cases, the gap between your silent expectation and reality grows, and so does the emotional distance. The solution is to trade assumptions for explicit communication. Yes, it requires being vulnerable, but it's the only way to actually get your needs met. You have to be willing to state your needs clearly, calmly, and without apology. This isn't being demanding, it's being clear. Instead of hoping your partner reads your mind about the anniversary, you can say, weeks in advance, "Hey, with our anniversary coming up, I was thinking it would be really lovely to celebrate. For me, something like a card or flowers feels really special. What are you thinking?" This opens a dialogue instead of setting a silent trap. It's about taking responsibility for your own needs and giving the people in your life a roadmap to loving you better, instead of getting angry at them for getting lost. The final mistake is one that often signals the end is near if it's not corrected: defensiveness, and its more extreme cousin, stonewalling. This is a direct response to feeling criticized, and it's one of the 4 horsemen that Dr. John Gottman identified as a key predictor of divorce. Defensiveness is when you try to ward off a perceived attack by making excuses, playing the victim, or firing back with a complaint of your own. Stonewalling is when you completely withdraw from the interaction, shut down, and stop responding altogether. Defensive phrases sound like, "It's not my fault," or turning a complaint back around, like, "Well, I only did that because you did this." It's basically saying, the problem isn't me, it's you. Stonewalling is the silent treatment, leaving the room or becoming a literal stone wall that's impossible to communicate with. It happens when a person feels so emotionally flooded that they disengage completely as a way to protect themselves. Both of these are incredibly destructive because they make resolving conflict impossible. Communication is a two-way street. Defensiveness and stonewalling turn it into a dead end. When one person brings up an issue and the other responds with a wall, the message is clear: your feelings don't matter, and I'm not willing to work on this with you. This completely invalidates the other person's experience and leaves them feeling alone in the problem. Over time, the person who is constantly met with a wall will simply stop trying. They'll stop bringing up issues. They'll stop trying to connect. They'll pull away because the relationship no longer feels like a partnership. Imagine a partner says, "I was hurt that you didn't ask about my big presentation today." A defensive response would be, "You know how busy my day was. Why didn't you just tell me about it if you wanted to talk?" That response just blames them for having a feeling. An even worse response is stonewalling, just staring blankly, shrugging, or walking out of the room. The partner who tried to express their hurt is left feeling foolish, dismissed, and deeply alone. They learn that their feelings are a burden and that bringing them up only leads to pain. This is the ultimate way to push someone away. The antidote to defensiveness is to take responsibility, even for a small part of the problem. Find the 2% of truth in what they're saying. Instead of that defensive response, you could say, "You're right, I'm sorry. I got completely swamped today and I didn't ask. That was my mistake. Tell me how it went." This instantly de-escalates the conflict and validates their feelings. The antidote to stonewalling is to practice physiological self-soothing. If you feel yourself shutting down, you have to recognize it and take a break. Announce it clearly: "I'm feeling completely overwhelmed and I'm shutting down. I need to take a 20-minute break before I can talk about this." Then, during that break, do something that calms you down and avoid replaying the argument in your head. This isn't avoiding the problem, it's pausing so you can come back and solve it together respectfully.
So there they are, the 5 communication mistakes that are so easy to make, yet so damaging. We have accusatory you statements, which trigger defensiveness, interrupting, which signals disrespect, hitting below the belt, which breaks trust, making assumptions, which creates resentment, and finally, defensiveness and stonewalling, which shut down communication entirely. The common thread through all of these is that they make the other person feel unsafe. They turn your partner or friend into an opponent instead of a teammate. The solutions, on the other hand, all point in one direction: creating emotional safety. Using I statements, practicing active listening, sticking to the issue, communicating your needs, and taking responsibility are all ways of saying, "Your feelings are safe with me. We are in this together, even when it's hard." Changing lifelong habits is not easy. It takes awareness, effort, and a lot of practice. You're gonna mess up. You'll fall back into old patterns. The key is to be gentle with yourself and with the other person. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every time you catch yourself about to make one of these mistakes and choose a better path, you are laying another brick in the foundation of a stronger, healthier, and more connected relationship. You have the power to stop pushing people away and start building the deep, meaningful connections you've always wanted. If this resonated with you, watch my video on the power of being alone. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.